Welcome back. Come here, baby. Come here. So if you hear any sounds at my feet, it's this little girl right here. It's my rabbit Cinnabon. How you doing, baby? Say hi to the internet. Say hi. Okay. I'll put you down right there. There you go. All right. I want to talk about AEW, and I've talked about AEW, but I want to. There's a good roster here. There really is. There's some really good wrestlers in AEW. And I hate to go back to the Tony Khan thing, but yeah, the 7 days in between the angle that they shot with the Bucks and Okada attacking Tony Khan, I was like, okay, well, how are they going to play this? And they've played it as goofy. It's a storyline that if you do it right, it can really generate some buzz. The ratings were up this week for Dynamite, but only 2.9%. They barely get over 700,000 viewers. That's not the kind of bump you're looking for. Tony Khan was everywhere. He was at the NFL draft. He was on TV. And really, the fact that it only added up to a 3% bump tells you people don't care. People saw it as kind of being a joke. His statements about WWE, obviously hyperbole. If you're going to talk about the issues WWE has from an HR standpoint, AEW's had some HR issues of their own. So, I'm not sure where AEW goes from here, but there's a few things I want to talk about. Starting with, Swerve Strickland, 2 weeks in a row now, has been in the opening segment, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when it feels like his feud with Christian Cage, which gets set up just kind of out of the blue by the executive vice presidents, it doesn't feel like Swerve is part of the main storyline. And here's why. So you have Kenny Omega get completely buried. Just completely buried. Buried by the Bucks and Okada. And what's weird to me is Swerve doesn't come out and make the save. If you want Swerve to be your champ and the face of the company, he comes out and he makes the save on Omega. And I don't care about any previous issues or that they're trying to keep Swerve as a tweener. He should be the face. If you're going to have him be the champion, he should be the face of the company. He should be out there for multiple segments. How many times have we seen where Roman Reigns is at the top, or now with Cody Rhodes at the top, WWE just, they will tell you over and over, this is our champ, this is the guy, this is the face of the company. And I don't get that feeling with Swerve. I didn't get that feeling with Samoa Joe either. And it just feels like you should be building him up to be a big deal. You should be building him up to be your main guy. And instead, the main event was Kenny Omega standing in the ring and talking about his health issues and then getting beat up. And then it bleeds over into Rampage, and he gets beat up again. And so did FTR. I think part of the problem, and I was listening to Jim Cornette's take on this today, and I was like, he's got a point. As the young Bucksers, he calls them the Buckarers, they're not threatening. Neither's Jack Perry. Jack Perry and the Young Bucks, from a physical wrestling standpoint, are not scary. It would be like in WWE back in the day if the two-man power trip had been Brian Kendrick and Paul London. People would be like, why are these guys running over the roster? And with the Young Bucks, you can say, oh, well, they're executive vice presidents. Fine, but still, from a physical standpoint, I don't think the Young Bucks would pose, say, an issue for Big Bill or somebody else. And if you're going to put this over as being real, that, Omega's got these health issues and whatever, then somebody should be coming out and making the save. In fact, lots of people should be coming out. If they want this angle to work, it needs to feel like it's not just an angle. It needs to feel a little bit more realistic than what it feels like right now. Because right now it just feels like just a regular wrestling angle that they're trying to blow up into something else. The reason that, and I mentioned this last time, the reason the NWO worked is because there were a lot of people who didn't know whether or not it was real. There were a lot of people that went, hey, Kevin Nash and Scott Hall, are they WWE plants that just went down to WCW? And I mean, how long has that rumor been out there about Vince Russo, that Vince McMahon sent Russo down there to kill his competition? And while I don't believe that was the case, there are still people who believe that believe that he was sent down there to take, just basically take WCW out. And that's essentially what happened under his watch. So you've got to make this a big deal. And for FTR, they need somebody else. Like the Young Bucks being tag champs, I don't know. I feel like with Young Bucks, once you've seen a few of their matches, they all just kind of have a sameness feel to them. There's not really any difference. Like, again, going over to WWE, one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Obviously, the Hart Foundation's in there. Demolition would be in there, even though they were a ripoff of the Road Warriors. I love the Road Warriors. You always have the big guy and you have the fast guy. You have the one that does all the power moves and the one that could do all the drop kicks and the flippy doo-dah. Well, with the Young Bucks, you have two small guys, small by wrestling standards, right? Who, in a physical battle with, say, I don't know, Wardlow, right? So, like, it just to me it doesn't work because the guys who are running roughshod over the company are on the smaller side. They don't have somebody like Wardlow backing them up. That's like this to me. This angle would work better if you had Kenny Omega out there. And I know Okada has this great reputation and everything. There's a lot of people that like him as a wrestling legend. But if you had a Wardlow type, if you had what Diesel was when he was first with Shawn Michaels, where they had this big dude who comes out and just, beats the hell out of Kenny Omega. And basically, Young Bucks are like, yeah, this is our new bodyguard. We're paying him, and you're getting out of our ring. And then you have this whole confrontation, and then it's the bodyguard that does the work. And then, I don't know, it would feel a little more realistic. And again, the fact that nobody's coming out. Like, I'm not saying that, like, a bunch of guys should come out and help Omega, but, I don't know, somebody, not just FTR. It just feels like there should be other guys here. If you want it to feel like they're overthrowing the boss and they're running the company, then it should feel like other people in the company are ticked off about it and they want to fight back against it. And we're not really seeing that. All right, Swerve comes out and says a few things. And they go, all right, here's Christian Cage. Christian Cage hits him with a microphone and there's your champ, everybody. Like, it's so weird. It's so odd to me that you crown a new champion who I think you can build around, who can talk really well in the ring. The main event spot should belong to your champ. The main event spot should belong to the guy you are trying to build around. And if you're going to put him on in the opening, fine, but he should be back out to close the show. The close of the show should be somebody holding up the title, whether it's your champ, whether it's somebody trying to defeat that champ, somebody holding up the belt. Make the belt feel like it's the most important thing on the show, or at the very least, the champion is the most important person on the show. So the learning tree angle with Y2J doesn't seem to be hitting with anybody. I haven't found anybody that thinks it's a really great idea. How many different factions has Jericho had? Feels like there's been a lot of factions, and at this point in time with Chris Jericho, I think that he's, as a character, I don't know what the direction can be from here. He's moved away from Judas as this theme song, which is perfectly fine. But that was over. That song was over, and everybody loved singing. And I loved singing along to it too. But it just, I don't like the whole thing with him and Big Bill. Just make him a tag team. Just have him and Bill be a tag team. You don't have to do a learning tree thing. I don't think, anyways. Plus, it's kind of weird to me because, like, Big Bill's been a wrestler for a while. It's not like he's brand new. It'd make more sense if it was a rookie, somebody just coming into the company, and then you could go, well, that makes sense. He's going to shepherd along this young kid that they just signed who's 7'4" or whatever, right? So it's weird. The House of Black storyline, I think, could be done really well if they take enough time with it. The idea of the formerly known as Edge, now the rated R superstar Adam Copeland, him turning evil, it's not that far. It's something that makes sense. Him and Malachi Black joining forces makes a lot of sense. But then Malachi Black should be going after Swerve Strickland. Malachi Black is a fantastic wrestler. I have no idea why AEW hasn't given him a really strong push towards the title. I have no idea. I was floored at WWE not doing more with him when he was there. And when he went to AEW, I thought, man, they just got a game changer. And so far, the House of Black's really cool. I think it made Julia Hart. It doesn't seem to be doing much for anybody else. It doesn't seem to be doing much for Brody King. Buddy Matthews had a really good match with Adam Copeland and even sold really well to the point where I was like, is he really hurt? And again, Buddy Matthews is great. But the end of the match just kind of meh. So obviously Copeland's going to end up joining House of Black. That seems to be where we're headed with that. And hopefully that leads to something a little bit more interesting for that group rather than just Copeland becoming the head of the group. And hopefully they stop there. They don't overexpand the group and make it a ridiculousness, which they generally haven't done with AEW. I talked about the Jack Perry issue. I do think that with Perry, again, I'm not sure how you make him a main event guy. I'm not sure how that's going to go. I guess they're trying to push him in that direction. I don't know if the fans are going to buy it though. And with the ratings being as low as they've been over the last little while, it just feels like they're kind of lost here. Like changing Luchasaurus's name to Killswitch. Why? Like I'm just I find the whole thing odd. I really do. Because with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy as a tag team, that worked. That worked. That was great. It was fun. Everybody would sing the Tarzan Boy song when they came out. That was great. I thought it was fun. And since they broke them up and now they're both dark brooding heels, I don't know. It feels like some of the uniqueness they had in the company 5 years ago, now it's all just kind of the same. I think that's part of the issue that I have, that everything just kind of has a sameness feel to it. The wrestling itself is really good. The wrestlers themselves are really good, but the storylines and the booking just doesn't work for me. I want to talk a bit about the women's division. First off, Anna Jay. Every time I see her lately, she's losing. According to the roster page, that's exactly what's been happening. Her record, I think, in 2024 is 2-9. Anna's a good wrestler. I don't know if she'll ever be a great wrestler unless she goes to WWE. I think Anna Jay and WWE, I think they could do a lot with her. I really do. I think that some time in NXT for Anna Jay would work. I think that, we saw with Jade Cargill, they signed Jade, and then they realized that Jade as a wrestler needed some work. So they gave Jade some work. Now they've got Jade working as a tag team with Bianca Belair. And I think that's because Bianca's a really good wrestler, and she can work with Jade on some stuff. They'll travel together on the road. They're a tag team and all that. And by being in a tag team, it kind of hides some of the limits of Jade Cargill's moveset. So I like that. I like the idea of them being in a tag team. And maybe that's something Anna Jay could use as well. But at this point, the women's division in AEW is, it's tenuous to call it a division at this point, because while I understand there are some plot lines there that are okay, a lot of it just feels kind of the same. Everybody's in a faction. Everybody's gimmick seems to be kind of sort of the same. Like, I'm not saying you need to have the cartoony over the top gimmicks, but it has the sameness to it. Even Mariah May. And I think Mariah May, between the combination of looks and talent, I would put her in the same category as Tiffany Stratton. I think there's a lot there. I was really impressed with Mariah May's moveset the first time I saw her, and I was like, okay, this young woman could be huge in the wrestling industry if it's handled right. And that's the question mark I have, is if it's handled right. Obviously, eventually she turns against Toni Storm. You should be setting her up to be the women's champion. But will that switch? Will it bring in casuals? If you're a big AEW fan and you're like, I hate the way this guy talks about AEW, I get it. I totally do. But what AEW needs to do, if they want this to work, they have to be attracting new viewers. They have to be attracting new fans. And the product they have out there right now has not been doing that. So you have to pivot. You have to make a change. And I think that's part of the reason they went with the storyline with Tony getting attacked. But it's not hitting. If it was hitting, we would have seen huge ratings this week from Dynamite, and we didn't. And we have seen with ratings that you can. When we knew that they were going to show the footage from the CM Punk backstage incident, the ratings went up way more than 3%. Meaning this angle has not hit. And anywhere near as much as if they said, hey, we're going to have 10 seconds of CM Punk footage next week, the rating would easily be up at least 5% just for that. Just for people to go, what kind of ridiculousness are they pulling this time? Sky Blue, I will never say anything negative about Sky Blue in terms of her wrestling, her potential, and her ability to potentially one day be the face of women's wrestling in AEW. And if she goes to WWE, the sky could be the limit for her there as well. And the whole storyline with Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Moné, to me, feels, I don't know, it's not hitting for me. If it's hitting for you, again, great, fine. But it's not for me. And so Moné, I think, is going to win the title from Willow, obviously. I can't see her coming in and not winning. Word being that she hasn't been physically cleared to wrestle at this point, which seems odd to bring her in and build her up and give her a title shot when she's not able to wrestle yet. But at any rate, that storyline for me has been kind of a bit of a miss. But with Willow, that promo she cut after she won the title, I think she should hold it for a while. And I think it should be a three-way dance between Willow, Chris Statlander, and Mercedes Moné. And then what you do is you give Chris Statlander the title, and you have Moné and Nightingale keep their feud going, with the winner of that feud going back after Statlander. And you could have Statlander needling both of them into fighting with each other all the time. Anytime Nightingale comes out, you could just keep mentioning Mercedes' name until she comes out, and then get them to fight with each other and leave. And you could do a storyline like that, and it could work. Spend time building wrestlers up. Spend time building up the storylines and having everybody, cross with one another and build these nice, long, rich storylines. And they have in the past. AEW absolutely has in the past, and certainly it's something we've talked about. At least I know I've talked about on this channel years back, where it felt like this is a really good callback to that moment from a year ago. This is a good callback to that. And while there's still some of that now, it just feels like a lot of it's falling flat. I'm not interested in the Young Bucks fighting with Kenny Omega. I am not at all interested in that. I have no interest. If Adam Page was fighting against him, maybe. And they've already had that feud, but that feud was great. I really enjoyed that feud a lot. I hate to say it, but I kind of tune out when the Bucks are on the TV. I just tune them out. Maybe I'm the only one. Let me know your thoughts. Do hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Yeah, I just wanted to do by my standards, this is quick for me to talk about wrestling. Just on the AEW issue and just make Swerve a big deal. Put him in multiple segments, and if you're going to make him your champion, make him your champion. Make him bigger than life. If you're going to do that as a face, then he goes in and he runs through the Young Bucks himself. And, and then you could have them suspend Swerve Strickland. How dare you touch the EVP? We're going to suspend you. Fine. And then he shows up in buildings. He could be, sitting at ringside with a ticket and with the belt over his shoulder. They try to strip him of the title. And then you have a power battle where Kenny Omega comes out and goes, hey, I'm an EVP, and I don't think we should strip Swerve of the title. So, no. You're not stripping him of the title. And you have this whole fight. And then you can have this whole board of governors thing. And you got this whole argument about that. The board says, no, you guys don't have any real power. And you can keep Tony Khan out of it completely. That'd be my advice. But let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.